Welcome to the presentation of the inspection report for 3851 Adams Lane, Frisco, Texas. I carried out the inspection on the 30th of September, and we'll start with the foundation and work our way through the report. Overall, the foundation is in good condition. There was no real issues apart from a couple of little items which we'll go to in a moment. First one is the post tension cable heads are showing in a number of places. Very simply to fix, you just cover them over with a little bit of extra mortar. It's called parging, and that will solve the problem. It's common to have this happen. It's almost an as-is condition. You'll find it on most houses on about 8 to 10 years of age and older. Sometimes you find it on brand new houses. In addition to the cable ends being exposed in a couple of places, there's a little bit of erosion both on the right and left elevations of the building. I recommend that that's rebuilt with dirt built up to support the foundation and cover what was the original footings of the building. The grading in general was very good. Nothing really to add about the grading. The roof covering, I know that you were concerned about the roof. I found two things wrong with the roof. Very minor. This is a bit of a scuff mark here on the roof, and that's caused, I think, by ladders being put on and taken off, and as a result it's damaged the shingles, although they appear to be watertight. In addition to that, there is an issue here with regard to the flues. You see we have a water heater flue here, and you have a vent for the ventilating the roof here, and although you can't see it properly from this angle, this flue is pretty level with that cover, that vent, and so there's a possibility of gases getting in and out of the attic. Not a high possibility, but extending this by another foot, making it as tall as this one, would help greatly. Now, there was an item that was reported on a previous report regarding the roof. I couldn't identify any shifting or moving shingles at the time that I inspected it, but if you have any doubt at all about a roof, you should have a roofer examine it for you. They'll be able to go up and look in detail at things that I cannot get at because it's too high and too steep for me to walk on, and I don't carry those type of ladders that are necessary. Overall, my opinion is the roof is in good to average condition, and from the infrared scan that we carried out internally at the time of the inspection, there were no roof leaks. The structure of the roof was fine. There were blown insulation into the attic, had been compressed in a number of places, and as a result of that, it's not going to work quite as well as it should do. So I recommend blowing a bit more material in there, insulation material, just to increase it a bit. It's very cheap to do, and a simple fix. You can see here where joists have been exposed because of the compression of the insulation. This is done by people walking in and around the attic. It's not to be recommended, frankly, unless they really have to, because they do disturb the insulation and reduce its effectiveness. There's a small settlement crack to the right of the portico. I've said left there, actually it's to the right of the portico. And it's caused just through general common settlement. It's very small. It's in the mortar. Very typical to find these type of cracks on houses in Texas because of the way in which the active soils move. But that's on the front elevation of the portico. Above the actual porch itself, up at the roof line, there's a large gap in the trim work, such that rodents could get in there. So I recommend that that's filled, so that no animals can get in and out of the attic. In the master bedroom, we have a fogged window. You can see it here, condensation on the inside. that means the seals of that window have gone. Seals typically only last about 10 years on houses in Texas because the very hot sun causes constant expansion and contraction, and that weakens the seals and they tend to leak. There were no other windows with apparent leaks on them, but it wouldn't surprise me if they all start to show some level of this type of condensation on the inside of the panels in the future. It's just the nature of the windows. That's how they come. There's a little bit of issues with the caulking around the building. We've got holes in the caulking. You can see this is a very large hole here. You could drop objects through that. That's got to be filled with mortar and caulked. And the caulking around the whole of the building, of all the windows, is now hard. It cooks in the hot sun. I recommend that all the windows are recaulked in the next 18 months or so. Small point, windows with steel lintels like this one has got. This is a steel lintel here, this black object here, steel lintel. They should have weep holes over them. It's to allow the wall to breathe at that point and removes condensation from the top of the lintel. In the master bedroom, the top window is got some trim loose, and there's items of trim around the house that need to be attended to. That's just general home maintenance, really. The electrical panel checked out well, and so did the electrical circuitry within the house. The heating equipment was fine, it heated, but you can see this flexible tube here. This flexible tube is actually too short. I've only shown you a little bit of it, but it's kinked here and it's kinked a bit further down. This should be replaced. This is actually a potential hazard. These pipes are easily damaged. It shouldn't have been installed in this way. There should be a little bit more slack. As it is at the moment, we can see cracks appearing in this area here and gas leaking out. I recommend that's done as soon as possible. The cooling equipment, was working okay. We weren't getting stellar performance out of it, and we'll see a little bit of that later. But the compressor outside on the grade, that's actually sloping. It has a tilt to it. That needs to be corrected. The temperature drops around the house varied. We got a temperature drop in the master bedroom of 14 degrees Fahrenheit. We're looking for 15 to 20. In the dining room we only got 9. Again, we look for 15 to 20. On the second floor we were getting 15 degrees drop. I have to tell you though that overall the comfort inside the house on the day of the inspection was good. The issue is with a little bit of the ducting, I think, perhaps to the dining room. Increased flow might be required, but this is something you would learn once you move into the house, because the standard air conditioning does have variance between one room and another as to what cold air flows into it. So you may want to check that out once you live in the house. The plumbing checked out fine. It has a water pressure of 45 pounds per square inch, and we had good functional flow at the sinks and bathroom faucets. The drains and wastes are located at the exterior of the building. They are as a lateral line goes under the house, and the lateral line runs down to the sewer. The water heater was working perfectly on the day, heating water. You have 2 of them. The only issue is that they are coming to the end of their safe working life. Now this is a fact of life with Texas. Water heaters last between 6 to 10 years. Averagely, manufacturers say that water heaters last 10 years, but because of the acidic water that we have around the Frisco area, water heaters can actually have a shorter life. You should plan to replace those water heaters in the next few years, perhaps sooner rather than later, because they are in the attic, and if they were to leak, they would cause quite a lot of damage. So I recommend you change those water heaters out. Hydrotherapy tub checked out well. It worked, operated. The appliances all worked well. The only issue really was the exhaust vent, which is part of the microwave. The light didn't work. The cooktop ran. We got gas cooktop and electric ovens. They work perfectly. And the garage doors operated perfectly. Now the lawn and sprinkler system, I tested up to zone 3, but I couldn't get zone 4, 5 and 6 to run. Now that doesn't mean to say it's not working. Zones 1, 2 and 3 work perfectly. What it means is there could be a programming issue, and I can only turn them on automatically. I do not interfere with the automatic system, the program system. So you should check with the seller about these the sprinkler system. But on the day, the zones that I checked worked well. There are 6 zones, and I was not able to establish total cover. So there we have it. Overall, the house is in good condition. If you have concerns about the roof, which I know you've expressed those already, you might like to have a roofer look at the overall roof and give you an expert opinion on it. But the house in general came through the inspection very well. And at the bottom of this report, together with, you've also had it in your email, you'll see a list of items that I've called out, and here's the list here. Okay, so that's just a list of all the things that I've called out. In general, the whole thing is the house is in pretty good condition, and for its age, and a condition I would expect.